What's being said here apparently, or what this is about, kind of, is on that all there is whole and complete already. On the one hand, that's the natural reality, that's the natural and ordinary reality, that everything is whole and complete, and it's really meant like that in a very direct way. It's not meant in a conceptual way or in a philosophical way. In the end, not even in an experiential way, because that's what the person would be looking for, an experience of wholeness, an experience of goodness, and so on. So that's the one thing. Apparently, everything is whole and complete already. And this includes sitting in front of a screen and breathing and thinking and feeling and all of that. And the other thing that we'll talk about and what's being said is that there is no separate I. There is no separation. There isn't a real subject-object experience. That's what I would call experiencing. And on the one hand, this seems to be an energetic setup. It really feels like separation. It really feels as if there is an I, and it really feels as if there is a separate world. So that's the other thing. And what's being said is that this setup, so to speak, this energetic impression, this feeling, doesn't have any substance at all. That's why one could, very simplified, say it's an illusion, it's a dream, it's an illusion. But what it actually means in the end is that it's not there. There isn't anyone. Also already. This too isn't something that will be achieved at one point in the future. It's impossible. Because this presence already is without substance, already isn't real. That's why this message, so to speak, or this meeting this afternoon, this event, is not a teaching, or at least not in a sense the person would understand it, what a teaching is. Namely, there is someone, I, and this wants to tell me something. This is speaking to me. This, wants to give me some important information to go on living as an I, but in a better way. That's what the person would regard as a teaching, that there are two people and someone who knows, who has achieved, who is ahead on the path, and that I get information from someone. And I'm someone who doesn't know yet. I'm someone who is still behind on the path, or something like that. And what's being said here is that all of that doesn't exist. All of that is a dreamt reality. There is neither someone here who has found or achieved something, nor is anyone over there who hasn't found yet, who has lost something, and who still needs to find or achieve something. It's just not real. It's just not the case, one could say. So I think that's basically it. Everything has been said. Now we can hang out. Hang out together. Apparently, of course. Seen from the person, this message seems to be very radical. On the other hand, it's not radical at all. It's just apparently confirming what happens to be all there is and to be fine. Not that it needs that confirmation, not at all. It's an apparent confirmation, but that's the only thing that seems to be happening here. This is it. Sitting in front of a screen is it. Having your thoughts is it. Having my thoughts is it. Feelings, stuff like that. That's all there is. That's it. It's perfect. It's whole. For no one. It's unseen, but it never has to be seen. That's the surprise. It doesn't need, wholeness doesn't need to be experienced by something or someone. It's just not needed. This whole impression of, yes, but I need to see it. Yes, wholeness, all right, but how can I get there? It's this impression which is illusory and which it's not needed. Or what happens doesn't need it. Okay, Anita.
Yeah, the last part I have a question. So this is wholeness. This is complete as it is.
Yes.
And I really need nothing. And there is still a kind of thinking that it's good that the energetic part is, so away.
Oh, all right. So this is wholeness. That's what apparently happens, and that's wholeness. And there isn't anything there that could or couldn't do anything about that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So you can also say there is no energetic part, or it's also empty.
Yes, but that would be the other thing. Yeah, that would be part of the dream, that there is a real separate energetic part that could drop, or that we could work on, or something.
Yeah, it's
like
not
that.
separate. It's not separate. It's also there. You could say, yeah, it's not separate. Nothing is separate.
Well, yeah. So it's not there then, if it's not separate.
I think it's no, it's not separate. It's
Yeah. What is it actually?
yeah, it's not separate. It's also there, so you can deny it, but it sometimes I'm still thinking it's better that it's gone, but it's
all right. So that's wholeness.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm also listening what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a question here in the chat. Andreas, can you talk about what wholeness means?
Yes. Well, that's a bit the difficult thing with all those nesses, wholeness, oneness, and stuff like that. Well, in the end, there is no circumstance. The natural reality, how it is, so to speak, is not a circumstance. And wholeness sounds like a circumstance. Okay. All there is wholeness. Okay. But in that sense, there is no ness. What is not a circumstance. But it means that sitting in front of a screen is whole and complete. It's naturally whole and complete, but it's not something. Sitting in front of a screen is not a circumstance, or all of that seems to be happening is not a circumstance. And that's all there is. And that's whole and complete. And that's no thing. And sometimes, just to ease the conversation, we can call this wholeness. But so but there isn't really something. And it's not that there is the appearance of sitting in front of a screen and some mysterious wholeness underneath it or behind it. This is not an appearance out of a source or the absolute reality that's wholeness. No, what apparently happens is all there is. It's no thing. It's whole and complete. It's all it all means the same, so to speak, the same no thing. So to speak of wholeness is actually already quite simplified. And it seems to imply, I know I do it all the time, there's nothing wrong, but I understand, seen from the seeker, it implies this duality between absolute and relative. That's what the seeker loves to do. The appearance is sitting in front of a screen, but actually it's wholeness, as if it would be something else than sitting in front of a screen. No, it's absolutely simultaneous. So I'm sorry for saying wholeness again and again. I'm not perfect too. For the person, wholeness is always something else than what apparently happens, even if it's subtle, even if it's just the essence of what apparently happens, or everything shines through, or wholeness shines through what happens, or stuff like that. No, it's very directly what apparently happens is whole and complete for no one.
So it's everything.
In that sense, it's also everything, yeah. William.
Hi, Andreas. So I'm getting really bothered at the moment about this thing about time. So this is timeless.
Yes.
What's appearing?
Yeah, it's no thing. Yes. It's not happening. It's not something that happens now. This goes all together, you know, happening, something, now, here, objectified, circumstantial. That's all. These aren't aspects. This all comes together, and time, so to speak, belongs to that.
Because within this timeless appearance, there's an appearance of time.
Oh, yeah, one could say so, yeah. Well, it's not within that, but what seems to be happening is looking on the watch and saying, hey, it's 1:20. It's not really that time as such is appearing, but I know what you mean. But
yeah, because then if you were talking to your family, you would say, we'll have dinner at this time, implying a future.
I know the only thing that would imply that there's a real future is the person. I don't imply future just by saying that we'll have dinner at 7. That's the thing. I don't imply any reality in this sentence. The person would imply total reality into this sentence. There is a now, and there is a comprehension about the future, and there'll be a real future, and there'll be real dinner.
So you're not expecting real dinner either?
Oh, no, of course not. Oh, no. Oh, no.
But when there's eating dinner, there's eating dinner.
Yes, but for no one. So it's not this conscious, it's not this Zen idea of consciously doing one thing after the other. It's the natural reality. All there is or what seems to be happening already is like this.
Okay, well, what it was that I wanted to ask about time is, if we say in a story that Andreas was seeking and now that's no longer happening, to me that would imply a time when something else was happening and a separate time when something, a separate time now when something different's happening. That is just timelessly, the story is just timelessly an appearance.
Yes, one could say, yes. And the telling of the story is like telling a fairy tale, while the person assumes that it was a real happening, and you tell the truth about a real happening. There was a real past, and there's a real Andreas, and in the past he was really a seeker, and now he's really no one, whatever he means by that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. It's a fairy tale.
There's a question here in the chat. Are words meaningless? So words like wholeness, consciousness, awareness, are they all the same?
Well, at least they are all equally empty. Yes. None of those words carry the truth. Yeah, of course. Like everything else, of course. Nothing carries reality would be another way to explain. No wall, no tree, no cloud, no screen, no thought, no body. Nothing is real. Nothing carries reality. Nothing carries a truth, one could also say, including the words. Yeah. Yes, it's a projection from the person. It's not a conscious projection, but of course that's a description. It's a projection from the person. And with meaningless, I don't mean necessarily a functional meaning, which is unconscious. No one knows this, but the person hopes that there's something deeper in it: truth, reality, meaning, as if there is a deeper information that it can use as an eye, that not just the body can use. Apparently the body can use the information that there's dinner at 7 or whatever, but the person hopes that there is some important information even in that daily stuff for its path towards fulfillment. And in that sense, it's completely meaningless. Nothing can be used for one's own purposes. That's just a hope.
There's a follow-up to that question here, Andreas. So why do radical speakers avoid words like consciousness or awareness?
Oh, I don't avoid them. Just ask me something about consciousness and awareness. One could also say I don't need to avoid them because consciousness and awareness doesn't exist as such. So there's no need to talk about them, especially. While in a personal teaching, everything is about awareness and consciousness because everything is about I. And awareness and consciousness is the I. So that's what you get reflected in a personal teaching. It's like the me constantly talking about itself. So there's a big emphasis on awareness and consciousness. But here it doesn't play a big role. It has the same importance than the chair and the screen. It's not denied even. It's not wrong. Andreas apparently being aware compared to a stone or to the table that's perfect wholeness. And I'm totally fine with that, that apparently this thing is aware and the stone isn't, but it's not meaningful. It's not separate. It's not meaningful. It's not who I am, this consciousness, so to speak. In that sense, it just doesn't play a big role. It's utterly unimportant, but there's no need to deny it, at least from my side. And probably, I mean, in a story, one could say, this is the biggest difference that the person probably might see to all two teachings is that it's not spoken at. And this is probably the biggest teaching to those condensed spiritual teachings. It's not about awareness. It's not about the I. It's not about something in specific. And this includes awareness or consciousness. It's also not about that. That's all. And I mean, for the person, sorry if I go on over now, now that you've asked. I think soon there is a request. Please stop, Andreas. Not consciousness again. I mean, as I said, the person is consciousness and the person is awareness, or the experience to be awareness. So on the one hand, that's why there is the big emphasis in a personal teaching, but it's also where the person seeks fulfillment in being aware of it, in being conscious of it, it becoming my experience. So again, for the person, this is it is itself, it's the most important thing. And it also seems to be the tool to find fulfillment, which the person also thinks, I have the question and I'm the answer. I have to be more aware. I have to be more disciplined. I have to be more present. So it also takes itself as the tool to find fulfillment. So there's all the energy in a personal teaching is about me. And I don't mean it judgmental. I don't say that's wrong or something. No one is responsible for that. No one is doing that either. It's not meant like that. But that's just what happens when there is a sense of a person. And that's also what happens in a personal teaching. It's constantly, the whole energy is about me, 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 me. Not that it could be different. A me that tries to be selfless, again, tries to be selfless for itself. So there is no way out, so to speak. And I don't judge it. I don't think it's wrong. It just is what it apparently is. The me would just love it to be otherwise. That's the only thing. Me would love to be good and selfless and all that stuff.
Hi, Andreas.
Hey,
So,
yeah.
you know, like sometimes you've said there's no actual reality.
Yes.
Could you also say if there's no one there experiencing, then no one knows if there is or isn't a reality?
Yeah, that's actually clearer. Yeah, this whole comprehension doesn't really happen. Because that's the thing. In order to know if there is a reality or not, you still need some kind of idea what reality could be, even. And that's already dreamt. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And it's also different from me not knowing the answer about reality. This is also not what's being said here. I don't know. No, there is no one. So the whole, as I said, concept or notion of reality doesn't happen.
Yeah, because if there was someone who didn't know if there was a reality, there'd be a questioning from a separate standpoint, is this real or not?
Exactly, that's what I mean. And then you can have, there is a reality, or there is no reality, or I don't know. All three would be beliefs in the end.
It's still about a person coming to a conclusion.
Exactly, yes.
You haven't come to a conclusion. There's no awareness.
That's the thing. As a historian could say, I just died. I didn't come to any kind of conclusion. None of my questions have been answered. Honestly, not one.
I'm thinking you still must have some. I'm thinking you still must have something.
I know. It seems as if I'm doing well saying all this stuff, but honestly, none of my questions have been answered. I died.
And so now it's impossible to question because there's no one who could be in a position of wanting to know.
That's true. It's actually impossible to question. This is also not coming from some wise standpoint or something. I don't question anymore. No, that's the thing. What could be questioned? You must already live in some kind of abstraction to even be able to question something energetically. That's what I mean. You even need to be separate from something to question it.
Yeah.
And it's not meant in a logical way. It's just impossible. Yeah. It doesn't come up.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. That's why this I know that I don't know is philosophy. It may give peace for a few minutes, like every conclusion, but you have to tell it yourself again and again and again, like any other conclusion as well. There is no one there to not know either.
Can I ask one last thing? Because on this note, because I kind of thought to myself, I feel like I know there's a body there that I'm speaking with. There's no one there that knows there's anything else, or that there is a thing.
Yeah, that there is a thing. Yeah. Yes, honestly. Yeah.
No, I believe you. Well, I know it's not about belief, but I kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's really unknown. It's deeply unknown what a body is, what speaking is. It's a dream that it is known, or that it could be known.
And would you say that's how freedom is apparently hidden from the person, by knowing that there are things and what's happening?
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah, but knowing in that sense is a bit by experience, by being separate and experiencing them. Knowing in that sense would be experiencing, be conscious of. It doesn't necessarily has something to do with the story.
But even say freedom is apparent. It was me that said it, but even for me to think freedom is apparently hidden from the person, there's no one to whom freedom gets revealed anyway.
Exactly, yes. So in that sense, it's good. It's good that you squeezed an apparently in, because freedom is only apparently hidden. It's never really hidden. But the person lives in the illusion that freedom is hidden and that it could be seen by me again. But it's never hidden, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
But freedom, the freedom of sitting in front of a screen, so to speak, happens to no one. And the person's idea of I need to see it is just the opposite of I don't see it now. But just what we talked about with awareness, this message has nothing to do with awareness at all, while for the person it seems what life is about. me becoming aware of it, me experiencing holiness. But that's just not something that matters at all. So the person operates in a completely dreamt and unimportant reality in the attempt of, I need to be aware of it. It's just meaningless. But for the person, it's everything. There's such huge importance for the person. And I don't think that it's bad. That's just how it apparently is. All its life is about, I have to see. That's what all the seeking is about. It's the most important thing for the person. But concerning what we speak about here, or sitting in front of a screen or stuff like that, it's utterly meaningless.
Well, obviously, because the person wants to get everything for itself, it thinks, well, what good is freedom if I can't experience it or see it?
Exactly. Yeah. It would throw it away. If it can't see it, it would holiness throw away. That's what it does constantly, energetically, actually. It's constantly saying, well, not this. Well, sitting from the screen, no. Andreas, tell me, how can I see oneness? Well, I don't care about sitting with you here, actually. But that's exactly this dynamic. Well, not this, but I want to see it. It's not bad. It's holiness too, so it doesn't matter. I don't say it's wrong, but it's constantly kicking away what it seeks. Oh. If it would be real, it would be tragic.
There's a couple of questions here. The first one is, when no one is there, do nightmares still arise while, quotes, sleeping?
Oh, wow. Well, I can't give an answer on that. I hadn't had nightmares. Well, I never had them, actually, so I don't know. Maybe, apparently, if your circumstances are a nightmare, maybe my circumstances are too cozy enough that my brain doesn't need to process any horrible stuff at night or something. I don't know.
Question here. Can you ask Andreas to speak about his new book and how it came about? I saw it on Instagram. Isn't Master Eckhart, a teacher? Can you please explain? I am interested in grabbing the book, but also confused.
It's not. It's a very thin book. It's just a booklet, and I did it in German, actually, and this is just translated because I don't know how popular this guy is outside of Germany. It's just, well, what to say about it? It's just commenting on a few of his sentences. That's not knowing anything. It's just there are some where it was, I don't know how much you know, it was a monk in, I don't know, in the 13th century or something, and he wrote some quite interesting stuff, especially for this time. So I thought it would be nice to have some, just take a few sentences and write something to them about them, or just take them as a starting point or something. That's all. But it's a booklet. It's 50 pages. Actually, I like it very much in German. And I think the translation is good as well. Yeah, it just came out. But what would be the confusion about it? Okay, maybe the question comes later.
Yeah, I think maybe because the person thinks that it's a teacher.
All right.
That's probably why. Unless you want to
okay.
comment,
Yeah, well, I didn't really care. I know there are a few absolutely gorgeous sentences and a few absolutely gorgeous sermons, for example, but I don't suggest to read his stuff. It's very complicated. Most of it is very complicated and not, to me, not very interesting. So I didn't give too much focus on him, actually. But some stuff is gorgeous, actually. At the beginning, I thought in commenting on him, and I didn't even know what to write because it was all there. So, but
There's a follow-up to that one. Yeah, it's about the teaching that was confusing. Thank you for clearing that up. On the same note, can you comment on A Course in Miracles? Because sometimes it feels like some quotes are non-dualistic, but sometimes it's like a teaching.
yes, I think that's what happens with most those Advaita, non-dual, or in a broader sense, things that they turn out to be teachings. So my explanation is kind of they dance around the concepts of this, but it's still some goal that someone can achieve. So to me, the Course in Miracles has nothing to do with this message, honestly. But I see that a lot of those concepts are similar. And it's not dumb or silly. It's very clever and very well thought through in a certain way. But of course, it's a teaching and it's constantly addressing someone. And the assumption is that there is someone really who could do the practices and then become no one or whatever they think. In the end, they can't really think that anyone can become no one in a sense like it's seen here, because then the teaching couldn't really happen. So my assumption is that they must have some idea about what this means when there is no one. It's just an assumption. I've never been too deeply into it. I just heard a lot about it. And I saw the book, and yeah, even by seeing the book, I felt burdened, actually. It's a huge book, and really, a friend of mine showed it to me, and I saw it, and I thought, what the fuck? that was actually my personal experience with A Course in Miracles. And I mean, I think it also happens to a lot of spiritual teachers. And you get a mix. For most people who have a teaching attached to it, you get this huge mix of people seeking for it, people doing some techniques, people getting nice experiences. Then maybe there has been 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever awakenings. Maybe it's a coming and going. Then they read a lot of books. And my impression is that all of that then ends up in a teaching. And somehow they have a lot of experiences in experiencing lovely experiences, meditation, blissful states. Then they somehow saw that there actually is no one. Then they read all the spiritual books, know everything from healing the past to meditation, whatever, and then they all throw it in their teaching. That's my impression. That's what then is spirituality and a personal teaching.
Anita.
Which I don't think is wrong. It's just personal. It's just what the person does. Gain experiences, gain knowledge, gain stuff, and then turns it into a concept, into a path, into a belief, into a religion. And it's ordinary. It's normal. Okay, sorry, Anita.
Yeah, I've got the same impression of you, but I can, in the past, I was really angry at those teachers, and still I can be angry at those teachers because they are keeping people in a circle.
Well, being someone is the circle, so
Yeah. And I know
they just don't do what they promise. They promise that they will bring you out of the circle. That's why maybe you can be angry about them. Well, you didn't bring me out of the circle.
No, it for me it feels like a reinforcement, and the teacher want to teach me, and I didn't want that, and
oh yeah, but why were you there then?
Yeah, because I facilitate healing sessions in his room. So, but I quit with it, with that place. But, and there is my question. I still know some woman who is visiting him, and there is something in this me that wants to take care for those women and say that it's not about being presence.
So you want to teach her? With best intentions, of course. It's even well meant.
Hey, Andreas, this is Anu. Sorry,
Hi.
I can turn. Yeah, hi. The message that you're giving, is it kind of a path of devotion? In the sense, there is a longing, there's a yearning, but there's really no path to that, right?
Yeah, exactly, because the person would turn it into a path of devotion, but what in the end is devoted is yourself, but not by you. So it's death. Death is total devotion, so to speak, but it's not a practice, it's not a path, it's just an apparent description of death. But it's not about letting go again and again, or that's a personal game. Holding on and then letting go, and holding on again and letting go. And then it seems to be a path of devotion, but that has nothing to do with this message. Then one could say those highly spiritual sentences. True devotion is the death of the I. Which it is, but no one's doing that.
Yeah, if I look at some of the spiritual teachers from the past, like I know that it ends up being a path. Historically, if you read their teachings as such, but the personal experience that most of them had was probably not because of a path. It just came upon them. Like death comes upon you, I guess, in a sense. And then historically, it was written down as teachings, maybe. But the individual, the apparent person must have had a similar, death in a sense while they were still living, while they were still alive.
Yeah, I can't see how any kind of teaching could come out of this death. I can't see how that's possible. Of course, theoretically, everything is possible, so to speak, but I can't see how this would be possible.
Okay, so the well-intentioned, trying to help other people always comes from the me or the I.
Kind of. Well, this intention to help someone become no one, become enlightened, become a happy I. Of course, there can be helping and there can be compassion and all that things, but it's just impossible to help someone who's not there. You can help a body over the street. You can help people from starving. You can send money in the world. You can help bodies, so to speak, but you can't help an I illusion, an I that's not there, to become a more happy I. That's the thing. It's just impossible, and not as a concept or a belief. And it's also not forbidden to help the eye to become a happy eye, but it really deeply doesn't make sense anymore. You can't please anything or anyone that's not there. In that sense, I can't see how a teaching can happen. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with helping and stuff. And of course, one can make people feel good or whatever. I'm not against, but I can't see how this comes out of that, especially not in this depth and meaningfulness in which many of those teachings are presented.
Wow, that's amazing. I think it's also been my experience. Like, I'm pretty well along in my age, and there was, looking back, and I think the previous speaker spoke about that too, Anita, is that there is an existential longing, and this just seems to kind of just keep it at a tolerable level. All the teachings, it's like a medicating, so it's not intolerable. But maybe if it was intolerable, some transformation would happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is just you can't really blame someone. Of course, on the one hand, the teaching seems to keep the seeker in place, but it is the seeker on the same amount that want to be kept in place. It just fits together. It's just what the person does, no matter where the person sits, on the throne, on the pedestal, or down and small and adoring. It's the same I trying to sustain itself. So it's not the teacher keeping the I, the bad, evil guru that keeps the I in place. No, all of them. The I just wants to be kept in place, period. That's what it wants.
So just extending it, yeah.
And that's what it also tries to do here. It fights for its life here. It's survival here too.
I love it.
And there isn't even something wrong with that. It's just what apparently happens.
Right. So not today, but maybe tomorrow or next week. That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks. Thank you. That's the other thing. Nothing can change that. I can't change that. Nothing in the world can change that, except the seeker drops by itself for no reason, not even because the seeker decides to do so. It has nothing to do with the seeker. Nothing can be done about that.
I guess that would be the grace. Would be the grace.
So to speak, that's when this holy word grace pops in. But yeah. For no reason. Not even because it's better.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's a question here. Andreas, can you comment on Christ consciousness or the non-dual teachings of Jesus Christ?
Well, Christ consciousness is one of those words which I hardly speak of, because I don't see such thing as Christ conscious. I don't know, it's just too generalized. You could project anything into this word, and I don't know I don't use it. For me, it has no relevance. And regarding Jesus, I can just tell this nice story that Jesus got liberated on the cross. Before that, he was a spiritual teacher and presented a method, believe in God, which when he was actually at the cross, didn't work anymore. Father, why have you left me? So that's liberation, when your own technique doesn't work anymore for yourself. And I think 2 weeks later, he was only seen as an appearance again. He appeared again, but not really. That's liberation. So liberation is death. And liberation is when your own method comes to an end, when that what you tell yourself and what you tell others comes to an end. That's the end of the person. That's the end of the guru. That's the end of the one who knows. That's the forgiveness of all guilt and sins, because it's the end of doership, and then there is no one there anymore. That's liberation. That's my story to Jesus. I think I never summed it up that well. But it's just I don't know, of course. It's a story. There was no Jesus, was the short one.
I just would ask, do you love Jesus?
Again?
I just would ask you, do you also love Jesus?
All right.
Hi, Andreas. So this message just can't be known, obviously. Well, what's being suggested here can't be known.
Yes. Sitting in front of a screen isn't known.
And the person wants, well, at least here, and I'm sure desperately to know what's being said here as if it could be figured out in some way.
Yes, used. Figured out and used.
But it's already this way, or, well, I don't know if this way is the right word, but it's already so, you know, like what's being said here about there's no one, there isn't anything else and all of that. It's already that. So
yeah,
that's why it's impossible to pick it up and use it.
And that's why it's impossible to move on with it. Yeah, it's, as you're right, it's on the one hand impossible to pick it up, but it's impossible to move on to more. To this sense of, now that I know this concept or this idea, I gained something. I made a step, a step that I can feel. I'm better off now. That never happens. It's impossible.
Yeah, because whenever the person's listening to this, it creates a story about what this message is, or that it is something, and that it can be known and, yeah, like you said, like used.
It will be always personal. It'll just create some image, some idea.
And that's why, like, you wouldn't say you're speaking, but you're speaking about this when asked questions at these meetings, giving an introduction, responding to questions. But as soon as this ends, then there's not a carrying around of anything from this message.
Yes, one could say so. One could say, I mean, that it sounds a bit personal, but or it's not an experience. There's absolute answer, because everything is whole and complete already. Getting up from the screen, thinking about dinner, whatever, walking down the stairs.
This message already, I'm thinking, so that means seeking is this message already, because that's an appearance that seems to happen.
Oh, totally, of course.
But there's no one who knows seeking's happening.
Well, in the end, when there is no one, also the seeking drops.
But I mean, the me would claim, I know I'm seeking, but there's no real awareness of what seeking is, would you say?
Oh, I know that I'm seeking is completely illusory. It's dreamt knowledge. It's not real knowledge. I know that I am. I know that I'm seeking is the dream. I know that I'm seeking doesn't happen.
But seeking appears to happen.
Well, yeah, but no one knows this. That's intellectualization now. Yes, of course, apparently, on the one hand, yeah, but in the end, no one knows that. Also, no one knows that it apparently happens. It's just the me trying to be clever. There's just what apparently happens, and that's completely unknowable. It feels as it feels. It is as it is. Totally, wholly, but not known.
And it doesn't need to be known, and it's impossible to be known.
Exactly, it's impossible to be known. It's not a divided reality. Person divides reality by being aware of parts. And it thinks itself is a part. But that's the dream already. I know myself, I'm here, I experience myself. No, you don't. Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jason.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. It seems like this need to know is like a need for security. Like if I just knew the right thing, then I could feel secure, right? And it seems like there's just some kind of like basic insecurity in being a self. Like when the self is here, it's almost like on some level there's some knowing that it's an illusion, right? And I have to shore it up all the time. I have to shore me up. It's pretty wild. I don't know.
Yes.
But there's kind of a pattern going on here with me, where the self drops away, or at least some parts of the self or something, and the body just relaxes, and it's just like briefly, and then there's like, oh shit, there's nothing, there's no way to know anything, there's no way to explain anything, it's all just happening. But then like there's a fear or something that comes up, and it's like, there's nothing to hold on to, and it's like, scrabble, I have to like reassemble the self again. Yeah, I don't know. I think I've had this exact conversation with you before. It keeps happening. So it's like, it's frustrating, and it's like I want to get past that level of the fear, but then I can't get past it, because past that there's not going to be me, and it's just this whole thing.
Yeah, that's why the fear comes. Going, not that anyone could do that, but going beyond that would just be death.
Yeah.
And you can't go there. You can't go there and have a look and come back if you don't like it anymore. It's very total. Death is total. And of course, that's when the fear arises. Of course.
Yeah.
And of course, this knowing, experiencing gives the impression of there being a stable world. A continuous, concrete reality, and that promises security. Yeah.
And a predictable future, sort of predictable.
At least a future in which I can exist. That's the least thing. It doesn't even, that's the least. It doesn't even matter what the future brings or something, but in the end, that there is a future at least already gives some comfort for the person.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's possible, that's the thing. It's possible that this whole reality fades, and it just gets lost. And then when this fear of death comes, the need to quickly reinvent the solidity of reality, that just goes together. But as I said, or as you said, actually, going beyond would be death. You can't go beyond anymore. It would be the end of you. Yeah.
Yeah, which you know, on one hand sounds so great, on the other hand, it's like, oh no.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's not how I wanted it to end.
Exactly.
Just somewhere in the car at some totally unimportant moment.
Oh God.
That's how my life ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's something to look forward to, I guess.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. As a concept, it may sound quite promising, but at the edge, so to speak, it doesn't look too nice. In that sense, one could also say it really has to happen. No one would do the step. It just has to happen, apparently.
There's a question here. So the person keeps surrendering to a god of their own making, and that is never sustainable?
Well, I think surrender, well, it's another, as I said, I don't really know how it is for you or what you mean to, but for the person surrender, my impression is just like this inner commitment to let go for a moment. Well, but to me, it's all personal, what the person regards as surrender. But I don't exactly know how it feels for you or to which experience you refer.
Did you want to add to that, Anu, or?
Yeah, I think that maybe, you know, we all have a concept of like a divinity or higher power, and but always it is within our own understanding. So that surrender, yeah, it's like you said, you can't take the final step, you know, that has to be, you know, death has to overtake you, you know, you really can't go there.
Yes, but but it's not only that you can't do it, you will not survive it. It's not about you at all. That's the thing.
Right.
So in that sense, this whole concept of it'll bring you there doesn't really make sense because no one will be there. That's what I meant. But yeah, that's maybe an idea where the concept of surrender or the devotion. But it's not the I surrendering as a process. I mean, this sentence, I die, is quite contradictory because the person might even think that is somehow doing the dying. I die, like I cook or I... No, it's I die means it's the end of you, not done by you.
So it's a done to you in a sense, you know, even though you don't exist.
That's the thing. In the end, it's also not done to you. It's the you that isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Even this idea that death happens to me. No, life happens to you because you are alive. The I is the sense to be alive, but death never happens to you. Like falling asleep never happens to you. Only being awake happens to you. But falling asleep, the moment of falling asleep doesn't happen to you anymore. You can think it happened to you when you wake up next morning. But not while you're sleeping.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, William.
Yeah, you know, we were talking on the phone on Wednesday, and I said I love this message, and you said me too. So there's nothing there that knows it loves this message.
Yes, that's true. I was just saying for no reason.
But the words come out.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So the question is about, like, what that body loves or enjoys, there's nothing holding on to that.
Yes. Me loving chocolate and I love chocolate is what apparently happens. It's all unknowable and meaningless. I don't know that I love chocolate. There's no I in here living in that story of, well, I love chocolate and that's who I am. Me loving chocolate turns me, into an individual.
So the person thinks by being aware of what it likes and doesn't like, it can guide its life to make the right choices.
Yes, exactly. That's true. Yeah.
I can do a bit more of this, a bit less.
Yes, it tries to orientate itself on its path. It's also connected to knowing, and it gives it security. And of course, it thinks if I know myself, if I know as much as possible in the end, I can act accordingly and create fulfillment by acting accordingly. Yeah,
As it does.
That's what the person thinks what life is about. To be there, to understand life, to act better, but all in order to create more fulfillment.
And even all of that dream is an addition on top of what's happening, because the body's still making apparent choices by itself, whether to eat this or that, whether to attend this meeting or not, or whatever it is. The body's choosing that. And then the person's on top of it going, I did that because, or I did that.
So to speak, that's the surprise, that it's not when there is no one, the body starts doing things that it doesn't like. I didn't start to eat, well, I don't know, well, let's take something else than eating. That's maybe a better but I didn't start to do all the things that I never wanted to do, that I totally hate. Oh no, the body does it by itself, but for no reason. It doesn't. Doing what you like, so to speak, doesn't serve the me to become more fulfilled.
So the person just assumes a reason in what the body's doing.
In that sense, as it tries to use everything to find fulfillment, it also tries to use its own body, of course. Doing what you like, and the person hopes that there is an additional gain in doing what you like, or what the body likes, if you want to.
And fulfillment can't be found because it's already fulfilled.
Yeah, because it was never lost, exactly. Because there was never anything separate from fulfillment, and the body doing what it does, doing what a body likes, doing what it has to do to survive or whatever, that is whole and complete already. Yes, surprisingly, for no reason, and amazingly in the end. Because it's so contradictory to what the person expects, which is constantly seeking in everything for this special wholeness, even in functioning, even in doing what one likes. The person thinks that's a path to some greater fulfillment.
Because even obviously, like with animals, they're doing what they like, so to speak, or that body of the cat or the dog. If there's an activity it enjoys, it will engage more. And if there's an activity it doesn't enjoy, or a type of food it doesn't enjoy, it won't eat it.
Yeah.
But they're not looking for fulfillment in the way that the person does.
That's at least the assumption, but yes. They don't seem to have religion or stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Well, thank you.
Oh, there's a question here. Hello, Andreas. I want to add to that question from the other person. So there is no God that will take the last step for you. I think that's what it's pertaining to. So all the sages are wrong. So no one to surrender and no one to be devoted to.
Yes, shall I say this sentence? Yes, I do. Yes, all the sages are wrong. Well, Of course, this message concept doesn't this message doesn't recognize the concept of sages at all. And I mean, with all those people who have said something in the last 3,000 years, you just don't know. That's the thing. One could say, as a very far out generalization, one could say, well, 80% or 90%, 95% were spiritual teachers anyway, no matter if they called themselves Zen masters or whatever. It's the same like today. And I don't think that it was different 500 years ago, and I don't think that it was different 1,000 years ago. And then there may have been a few which have been turned into a teaching afterwards. I don't know, I'm just, it's just a story. I don't know if they would have called themselves sages or it happened afterwards. Same with Jesus, so to speak. Has he been seen as the sage back then, other than these 12 people, these 12 men following him? I think the big regarding him as a sage happened afterwards, so to speak. Probably Jesus would have kicked you in the ass when you would have called him a sage or whatever. I don't know, But in that sense, there are no sages. Yeah. And as today, most people who speak and publish are teachers, of course. And I mean, even with this message, of course, the person will turn it into a teaching. I mean, if we were, say, the death of the me, and someone says 700 years ago, it's when the I surrenders, or it's the surrendering of the I, it might even have been the same that's being spoken of here. I don't know. We can't ask that person anymore. But afterwards, the person will turn it into a teaching and tries to surrender to everything. Surrender to drinking coffee, surrender to one's own, whatever. It wouldn't be this anymore, regardless of what that apparent person meant a few hundred years ago.
There's a funny question here. Andreas, are you accepting any new disciples like Mei Long?
Oh. No. Oh, come on. Was it a joke? No, of course not. Oh, you can't. It's impossible to follow no one. It's an impossibility. And maybe some people think that they can follow no one, but it's impossible. You can't have disciples or followers, or I'm not a guru. You can't follow. You can try, but it won't lead you anywhere, really. I don't suggest to follow me. It's impossible. You can't do that.
The person said that was a serious question. Now I'm disappointed.
I'm sorry, yeah. But I like Mei Long, and we know each other in person, by the way. So, but there are no, yeah, I'm very sorry for that. But yeah, no, there are no followers. Apparently, there are just people dying for no reason at all.
I also love Mei Long.
Yeah, she's great.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's no one speaking to no one.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah, this is not a teaching. It's not a hierarchy. There is no leadership and no followers and stuff. I know it might look like that, of course, seen from the outside, or if you look at it from a distance or from a person, it might look like that. But I can't explain it. It just completely isn't like that. It's just not the case. Sorry.
There's a follow-up question here. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Anita.
It's okay. No, sorry.
Were you a disciple of Tony Parsons?
Well, no, it's the other way around, and I can't explain that. No, I've been a disciple for apparently, of course, I've been a disciple of a guru in Germany for many years, and this energetic dynamic, for me at least, I know for some people it might be different. They maybe try to have it, but it didn't happen it didn't happen with Tony, and I didn't see any interest in Tony energetically. Not that I saw it logically, because of course in the beginning I tried to regard him. Well, it never really worked for me, because the guru disciple game that I was in energetically fell apart before with my other guru. So, and then accidentally I met Guru, and it never happened again. It never happened again. Besides of that, I totally loved him, and that I was fascinated by this message and stuff like that. All right, no, but the seeking and this admiring him as this energy just never happened. And as I said, it was, I see, and it was never somehow. It was also not from Tony coming, the need or this game. So of course not. There is no disciple and guru and hierarchy. And still, apparently, this energetic dynamic might happen, but it doesn't come out of authority or levels. And I never had the impression that Tony thought that I need him. I think many gurus also think that the poor seekers need them. And then some very, very clever people come around and say, well, this is the true guru then. Maybe it is, but there's no experience of that. It's not it's not a game anymore. It's not personal at all. And it doesn't lead anyone anywhere. It's just the collapse and the breakdown of all that for no one.
There's a question here. Hello, Andreas. Can you talk about the meing and the being?
Well, meing and being, it's just another thing that seems to be happening apparently, and there is no real answer to that, but it just can happen that this illusion to be someone becomes more transient. It's more coming and going a bit. or there is no clear story about it, or it's more tight and it loosens up. That can happen, and it happens for a lot of people after meeting this message, but it can also happen out of nothing, that it just starts, that the sense to be someone somehow loosens up. And then it can take all kinds of forms, so to speak. It can be quite irritating. It can sometimes I could describe it as when the me is a tree, so to speak, and then there is an awakening or a moment without someone, then it's like being unrooted. So you are still me, but you're not. It's not too solid anymore. And this can be pleasant for some people, for some it can be very unpleasant, for some people it can be both, because you get phases of when there is less seeking, but then there is the seeking again, and it can be quite frustrating again. It's the slow breakdown of reality itself, and there is some freedom and peace in that, but there is also some desperation and frustration in that. So, and it can be, I had many years where it was actually quite frustrating. I had many years of switching back and forth, and the first few years were very intense, at least. I don't know if they were more frustrating, but it was a huge roller coaster between bliss and deep frustration and desperation. That's what I had for many years, and then it softened, and I felt better, still being someone and still coming and going. It's dying in the end. Apparently, it's apparent, of course. It's not real. It's what apparently happens, of course. It's not something that's real, but it seems to be happening. And as I said, I had it many years. Already when I was still with the guru, for example. Before I met Tony, there was already meing and being going on. It got softer, actually, and apparently then I met Tony. So one could say in the years before, I still had the support of the guru. And now I think maybe that's why it was so well.
Andreas,
yes.
I know that this is such a hypothetical question, it's probably silly to ask it, but do you think there could ever come a time in the apparent future when the human race are just completely born without any sense of identity like all other animals?
Well, yeah, why not?
I just thought of them like if no one ever became a me, and then they look back at old YouTube videos of you and Jim and Tony, like what are these guys talking about, me and me?
What the fuck was that about? Maybe they say, but that explains all the rubbish that they left us. That's where the plastic came from. Yeah.
There's a question here. Andreas, there seems to be a lot of criticism with this communication, but it seems like it's growing its popularity. Can you comment on that?
Sorry, please clarify. Do you think that this message is criticized a lot, or that this message criticizes a lot?
It seems to be a lot of criticism, I guess, about the message, but it seems like it's growing in popularity.
Oh, well, yeah, it's two things. Of course, the person has to criticize this message. The person is constantly criticizing it, or constantly trying to prove the opposite. But yeah, it doesn't matter. The person trying to fight against holiness is holiness, and it's fine. The criticism of the person is not sustainable. But I don't know if it's really growing in popularity. There are also much more humans, so I don't know. I'm not there yet, believing that it grows in popularity, so to speak. Maybe not. I don't know. But of course, one could say in these wild times where we live in, and you can't hold on to anything really anymore anyway, maybe it is possible that it becomes more attractive, though the person tries to fight it. Who knows?